Hi, I'm Lisa from Lori's Country Cottage. Welcome to How Tuesday. Today is our final video on how to choose backing for your quilt. Today is all about wide backs. Why would quilters choose to use wide backs for their quilts? Well, the answer is simple. It's easier and takes less effort to put one piece of fabric on the back of your quilt than to have to piece backing. Wide backs come in beautiful cottons, sometimes sateens, even brushed cottons and flannel. And now it's quite popular for fabric designers to design a wide back to go with their fabric lines. Here are some important things to know about wide backs. First of all, they are usually, but not always, less densely woven than regular 45-inch wide cotton. They have a looser weave, so it is extremely important that you pre-wash. Pre-washing does two things. The first thing it does is shrink the fabric. You really want to pre-shrink your wide backs. As discussed in a former video, if you don't pre-wash your backing and you do your quilting and then you wash your quilt, the backing is still going to shrink. And what happens is you get puffy or puckering on the back of your quilt, which sometimes even appears on the front. So it's important to wash your wide back to remove extra sizing. Wide backs will shrink in the length for sure, but they are also often known to shrink in the width, sometimes as much as 10%. When purchasing fabric for your quilt, always remember to buy at least 10% more of the wide back. I buy even more than that. Another important reason to pre-wash your wide back is in the bolting process where they take this 108 or 120-inch wide fabric and double fold it and then wrap it on a bolt. It can get horribly twisted out of shape. When you buy wide backs at Lori's Country Cottage, you'll notice that we tear the fabric instead of cutting it. We tear the fabric to pull it on grain. We measure with the grain line of the fabric. When you go home and wash it, most often that fabric will pull itself back into line and you'll have a nice straight piece of fabric. So wide backs really need to be pre-washed. It'll shrink them and pull them back on grain. They're super convenient to use because you don't have to piece them. Most wide backs come in 108 inches, but you can also find wide backs in 96 and sometimes up to 120 inches. It's very easy to figure out how much fabric you need for the backing of your quilt when you're using wide backs. If your quilt is less than about 100 inches long, you just need to buy the width of your quilt. If your quilt is longer than the width of the wide back, you need to buy the length of your quilt. Now, if you've done a super king size and you can't find wide backing that's wide enough, you can buy twice the width of your quilt, but you're going to have a lot of fabric left over. You have some options. You can choose an accent strip to add into your quilt. You can piece blocks into the back of your quilt, or a pieced strip in the back of your quilt will also make it large enough without having to buy that extra fabric. One of the other reasons people like to buy wide back is generally it'll save you some money over buying regular 45-inch wide fabric and piecing it. Of course, that always depends on the cost of both your wide back and the other cotton you're looking at. Well, thanks for joining me for How Tuesday at Lori's Country Cottage. I hope I hope I've taught you a bit about wide backs, and we look forward to seeing you in the store and helping you choose your backing for your quilt.